What's going on, YouTube Gardening? It's your boy Sydney and
Tori
from the Naked Gardener channel. In this video, we're going to take a trip down to Jason and Robin at the Big Bear Homestead.
So this last year with Sid here for his job in Georgia, we've had so many visits. He's had more visits over at Big Bear Homestead than I have. They've always been so hospitable, answering questions, and really have become mentors to us and have helped us get more of a laser focus on making our homestead happen. And I think that's why we are at the process that we are, focused on selling our house and all the things. So we want to show you our mentors.
So let's get going. All right, so we finally made it down to Jason and Robin's Big Bear Homestead, and they've been mentoring us for a while on this homesteading way of life, growing our own food and whatnot. Can you tell our subscriber a little bit about your channel?
Well, we started our channel long time ago.
This year be a whole 10 years, won't it?
Yeah, and when we started, there was no other homesteading channels. So we had to learn everything by tripping, falling, you know, the whole blood, sweat, and tears kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we purposely started putting videos and stuff out about like the quail and stuff like that, because a lot of folks, their gateway animal is the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Ours was quail. And it kind of evolved from that. Our main goal, main purpose, I guess, is to educate, to teach people, to encourage people that it may seem overwhelming trying to grow and produce your own food, but it is attainable.
Mm-hmm.
We started in a neighborhood directly across the street from the Augusta National Golf Club. That's where they had the Masters, down there in Augusta, Georgia, to where we've grown now to a 21-acre farm up here in northeast Georgia. And we have successfully this year raised 95 to 98% of our own food.
Of the food.
That's amazing.
I mean, the only thing that we're not able to do right now is flour, sugar, and
Rice.
salt
And
and rice.
Yeah.
It makes us really ahead of the game. We're making our bread with sourdough and pasta with sourdough and all kinds of stuff. And the enjoyment and the satisfaction that comes from that, and the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can talk for days just about the flavor, the different flavors of the food. With our channel, we try to portray that, and we try to encourage people to put that seed in the ground, to go get those chickens and not worry about all the naysayers. The movement, the grow your own foods movement has grown so much over the last decade that, I mean, when we first started, we actually lost friends and family members kind of stopped talking to us with like, y'all are weird. At the end of the day, I mean, we have come leaps and bounds, and if we can do it, anybody out there can do it, because we go about it all wrong. we're the kind of people that are like, oh, heard on the news today that milk's going to go up to like more than gasoline. Go out and buy a dairy cow.
Let's go buy a cow.
Yeah.
And we go invest in a cow, and we learn that way. And it, you know, and it progresses to where now you got the cow, now you're getting the milk, you're making butter, you're making cheese.
And you also do predator control, correct?
Yes.
On your channel?
Well, I come from a hunting, trapping background. My grandfather, Papa, taught me how to hunt. He taught me how to fish. He taught me how to trap. And when we were in Augusta, I spun that trapping into a business, nuisance wildlife removal. And we were extremely successful with that. And we were getting a lot of squirrels, bats, honeybees.
Bats in Georgia?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That was our biggest moneymaker.
Yeah.
Really?
Beavers, coyotes, hogs, all that kind of stuff. And so you take the fur trapping aspect or the nuisance wildlife removal aspect, and you just apply it here. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot more deterrence stuff that you can do on your homestead to deter the predators. You just don't have to go out and put steel in the ground or the cages out or whatnot. There's a lot of things that you can do preventative wise to to be able to protect your livestock, your garden, and stuff like that. We have a whole complete playlist. I think I labeled it Predator Control on the Homestead playlist.
We'll put it down below.
And it covers everything from squirrels getting in the feed and getting in your attic, to moles, to coyotes, to otters, beavers, weasels. We talk about like the squash beetle, the hookworm, aphids, all those guys stuff, and being able to control it naturally, where you don't have to go down to the feeding seed and get that old Sevens dust or some of the other chemicals and stuff that they use. That way you can keep it naked.
There's quite a few animals that you have on here, and a few that we want to start off with, especially with the chicken. Now, something y'all just did this year, I think, with turkeys. This is your first year with turkey, and we're kind of hesitant and apprehensive about with turkeys. So we would like to ask some questions over there about y'all turkeys.
It's not our first year with turkeys. It's our first successful
year
with turkeys.
Can we go take a look at
Yeah,
this?
let's go take a look at it.
All right, so we're in the turkey coop, I guess you could say. Can you tell us why you wanted to raise turkeys?
It's called Thanksgiving. That's why.
Is it just basically a more diversified poultry to raise, I guess? Because you got quails, chickens, and...
Right, it's another white meat, poultry to be able to, have as an option. We've not raised enough to have it like in circulation with the rest of ours, but that is our ultimate goal, is to get them to be more in the rotation, to be able to, have more than just chicken.
When you start down this path and you raise your quail for the first time and then you eat them, you're like, I wonder what a homegrown chicken tastes like. And so then you go into the chickens, and then you're like, I wonder what a pheasant tastes like. And then you do a pheasant, and then you do, and it just keeps evolving, and then whammo, you're here and you've got 20 different types of chickens. You got quail, pheasants, turkeys. This is going to be our breeding flock, because one, turkey eggs are very tasty.
I heard that.
Very tasty. And
they're bigger than a chicken egg.
Yeah,
So.
They're a lot bigger than a chicken egg. And normally, like, if you sit down and you eat like 3 or 4 fried eggs or scrambled eggs or hard-boiled eggs, you're probably only going to do maybe 1, 2 turkey eggs.
2 turkey eggs.
And because of the size difference. But to me, they taste better than chicken eggs.
Now, I heard that they don't lay as often as chickens, though.
I've never really paid attention to what their cycle is, but it's not like, like with Muscovy ducks, they don't lay all year round. They lay like 3 or 4 times a year. So I think it's close to that. They lay in cycles so that they, they have enough to raise a clutch, and then, so they're not laying just for eggs. They're laying to reproduce. So
with the feed, is the feed similar to what you would do with the chicken with the turkey?
It's the exact same.
Exact same?
you have to have a higher protein in the beginning. When they're chicks, you have to do a high protein. Same thing with like guineas, and we found that out the hard way. You have to have a really high protein for the chicks. But once they get to this size, it's pretty much the same as you would like a broiler, or
And you supplement them with like black soldier fly larvae, mealworms, a maggot bucket,
protein,
stuff like that you can do, where you can, if you got a pickup truck, I tell everybody, you got any type of birds, a maggot bucket is a must. The black soldier flies are a must. Like, you guys are in Texas, so they should be native down there also, like they are here.
We have them in our compost.
Compost in our worm bins.
They are
The best.
the best.
Going back to the cost, do y'all know how much I normally spend a year per bird off of the cost for the feed of the turkeys?
If you're gonna pour them feed, like if that's what you're gonna do, and you're just gonna buy feed, it takes it's a little less than 3 50-pound bags of feed per bird.
Okay.
To get it from the time that it's born to the time that it's a good butchering weight. Like for these guys, I think hens are like 22-ish pounds, and then a little bit more for the toms. But it's roughly like 120-ish pounds, I think, if you figure it out. So I just tell people, like, if you figure 3 bags of 50-pound bags of feed is basically what you've got invested in one bird.
Per bird. Okay. Now, speaking on the cost, have y'all thought about ways to lower your cost for your bird besides just the larva and the black soil?
That's pretty
where
much it.
a
That's
lot
where
of
a lot of it is.
A lot of it comes in. Now we put these guys in here more out of protection necessity because we had some aerial predators that were hanging around too much, and so this
Put
one
'em in here.
has this where non-giant people can walk in here. Those with big domes have to duck.
Right.
These birds came from Murray McMurray. Now we have ordered turkeys from probably every hatchery out there over our time
Yeah.
doing it, and in all honesty, I'll never get turkeys from anybody but Murray McMurray again.
Plug, what type of turkeys are these? What?
They're the bronze broad-breasted.
Now you was talking about the infrastructure. What would be the ideal infrastructure for raising turkeys?
One thing I think, like with this, like Jason said, we did this out of necessity to be able to. This was originally a chicken coop.
Yeah.
So you have a run and all of that stuff. Well, these guys, as big as they are, a lot of times they have a hard time jumping up into there because they're big. You know, like they don't fly like a chicken will.
The ideal, obviously, would be to have them out on rotation,
Yeah.
like you do with your eggmobile. Now, Jeremiah from Roots and Refuge, he built an awesome turkey coop, turkey shelter, and he shared it with
I
me.
remember that. Yeah.
I'm gonna build that and put that in there because it looks like it's extremely lightweight, very durable. They can get up underneath it. It's not too short where it'll stunt their growth, where they have to duck their heads. And then we put them behind our Gallagher poultry netting, which works like a boss.
Yeah.
The ideal thing is to have them out on grass, moving them around from paddock to paddock. You wouldn't have to move them every day because they're not as destructive to the ground as chickens are, because chickens will just scratch everything just to scratch it.
Yeah.
These guys, they kind of mosey around. They scratch a little here, scratch
And
a
they
little
peck.
there.
They do more of like pecking.
All right, so we know that the chickens you got your roosters and hens. Is there a different name for the turkeys?
The boys, you have Jakes and you have Toms. So the Jakes are the younger birds, and then you have Toms. Just like with chickens, you know, you have cockerels.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right. So with a chicken,
Keep talking to the chicken lady.
so with a chicken, the females are called pullets when they're little, and then when they grow up and they're laying, they become hens. With the turkeys, they're called poults when they're young, and then they become either hens, Jakes,
Oh, I did not know that.
Toms. But like with the chickens, they start out as cockerels and then they become roosters.
The last animal we're kind of intimidated about raising on our homestead is the pigs or the hogs, however you want to call it.
And that's the most important animal
It really
to have.
is.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really
I
is.
know. But when we first came up here, we saw the little hokey pokey of your little piglets there. We was like,
you can't-
that's one reason why.
You can't judge it like that though,
Yeah.
because you guys are not going to do it probably on a main stream like we are. I mean, we have breeder pigs, and we have breeder pigs to be able to sell the wieners.
Yeah.
And I was expecting it.
They're called wiener pigs because once they've been weaned, then
Oh, okay.
so yes.
Sure, let's go with that.
And because in all honesty, there's a reason why the Irish call the pig the gentleman who pays the rent. Because you can literally put this animal to work for you. They can root around and fix holes in dams. They can till up a garden and fertilize it at the same time. They can clear an area.
We barely had to throw them any kind of feed. They fed themselves rooting around. And it's the same thing with these guys over here right now. We've got acorns and pecans over there that we never harvested. They're taking care of it for us. And in the meantime, that makes the meat taste better. It's actually a better way to finish out the meat. So,
Can we go take a look over
Absolutely.
there?
Let's go take a look.
You have different sets of pigs out here. Can you tell us reasons why you wanted to have pigs out here?
Well, one, like I was saying earlier, the pig is the gentleman who pays the rent. Like these guys, we call these are our charcuterie brothers. Robin at the Homesteaders of America conference 2 years ago took the class with hand-hewn farms and learned how to make charcuterie and how to go through and do all of that process. And she absolutely loves the stuff. I like it too.
What is charcuterie?
Charcuterie.
Yeah, what is that?
So that's just a fancy name for meat plates. Basically, with a pig, you can have prosciutto, salami, confit. Like, there's all different soppressata. There's all these different things that you can make from pork meat. So, and really, the reason they did the class was to show you how to preserve without using a fridge, like to keep things in a fridge or a freezer. So a lot of this stuff you can cure and then hang it, and then it's ready to go. Normally, when you're raising pigs, you don't want to keep them 3 or 4 years to raise for meat.
Okay.
Like if you're using them for breeding purposes, then yes. But if you're raising them for meat, a lot of times people will get a pig in the spring, a piglet, and then by the fall they're ready to butcher it.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, but with these guys are like 3 years old. If they were not producing charcuterie for us, they would have outstayed their welcome already. They would have already been gone. But when I was at the class, they told us that a 3 or 4 year old pig actually is better for charcuterie because of the flavor of the pork.
We put the pigs on a breeding program. So because pigs are very easy. 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days.
Yep.
If you can catch them in the act,
If you know exactly when they're breeding, you can pretty much pinpoint when they're gonna grow.
and so again, another way that they are earning their keep.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, who doesn't like bacon?
Yeah.
I know, right?
I
And
mean,
ham.
You really don't have to feed them as much, do you? So what do you know the cost that y'all normally?
We've never figured it out.
we never figured it out. I mean, and it's really kind of, for us, it's kind of hard. In the fall and then in the spring, they are all behind electric fencing, and we're bouncing them all around this 21 acres to help keep briars and unwanted stinging nettle, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Try to help keep that in check. And so they're bouncing around, they're rooting around, they're eating all those roots, they're eating all that grub. We literally, like for these two guys, it's going to be a half of a 5-gallon bucket or a quarter of a 5-gallon bucket to toss out there, and literally that is just to keep them bucket trained.
Bucket train.
Because if they ever get out, if you call them, they hear it, they look, they see the bucket, they're going to equivocate that with feed.
Okay.
And they're
So
gonna
that's what
come-
y'all call bucket train.
Right. One downfall though with pigs is exactly what's going on right now.
Oh. Laying in the water bed.
They don't sweat to stay cool. They usually will get in the dirt, get in the water,
In a mud pit.
and in a mud pit. That's why they always get muddy, is they're coating themselves down to keep themselves cool.
In the summertime, they are where the breeding, and in the winter, they're down there where they are right now because they have access to the pond. Because when pigs get overheated, they'll die of heat stroke quick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got to make sure they can stay cool.
Yeah, and so and here in Georgia, I mean, it can be
Almost 100 degrees.
100 degrees,
yeah.
100 plus, you know, and so instead of trying to come out here and trying to pump water into a certain area to try to make a good mud pit, it's just safer and more cost effective for us to put them in a pig pen that they have access to the pond. We got the cattle panels down there, right there where the land meets the water, and then we have 8-foot T-posts where we just do a half moon, and then out there in the deep end we just have a couple of strands of barbed wire that's right about where it would be where they swim, because they can swim, eye level, and so they won't test it. So they just go into the pond in the heat of the day, and they look like little hippopotamuses
They do,
sitting in
'cause
there.
it's just
with
their-
their-
Their snout
Just
and
the
everything.
top part of their
stuff.
snout sticks out.
and it helps keep them cool, and it pretty much, you know, it kind of saves their lives because they don't sweat and stuff. And so with us being breeders, that's one of the necessities that we have to have.
Yeah.
So that would be like the perfect infrastructure then.
It really would. I mean, I'm telling you, once we did that, that was a game changer for us because we don't have to haul water to them. We don't have to do water checks in the middle of the day
Well,
for
in
them.
in the summertime, we're doing water checks just on pigs like 4 times a day.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, because the minute you fill their water up, they're back down in it. And so then what do you do? So with that, we don't have to refill the pond. You know, they don't, and pigs won't poop where they drink. So they're not going to go poop in the pond.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about them.
Unlike a cow will
Yeah,
poop.
a cow will poop in the water. But with the pigs, they won't do that. So you don't have to worry about them, you know, messing up the pond water either.
So y'all was talking about the fancy meat pigs and stuff like that. For the regular pigs that y'all just using for processing, y'all got a perfect timing for that. Y'all want to talk a little bit about that from what's the perfect butcher weight, I guess, how y'all set that up?
Perfect butcher weight is when the pig is probably weighing about 250 pounds.
Yeah, 200 to 250.
Now, we do all of our own processing, so we have to wait here in Georgia because I don't have a cold room yet. I have to wait until I'm going to have 3 or 4 days of cold weather where it's below 45, 50 degrees. And then, because what I'll do is we will dispatch.
So now that we talked about our 2 biggest fears of livestock on it, let's talk about your garden. Can we go over there?
Sure.
So we're in your lovely garden here. For this area, what hardiness zone are y'all?
7 Bravo.
7 Bravo, 8A sometimes. It just kind of, it depends on who you ask.
What would you consider one of your go-to things that you have to grow each year in your garden?
Well, where we're standing right now, Brussels sprouts are huge because our family eats them like candy. And this is actually the first year where we've been a success. I mean, this is a huge success for us. In the wintertime, greens are huge, like collards, mustard, Swiss chard, spinach, things like that are very important because of you're not getting, you know, like today it's 70 degrees, but a lot of times you're not getting all of those vitamins from being out in the sun. You're usually inside a lot. So it's important to supplement your diet with those things. This year has been an awesome year. We've got cabbages growing, we've got carrots. I mean, pretty much any seed that we put in the ground is coming up and doing well. So we've been really blessed this year. The weather has really cooperated with us. So we just pay attention to the things that are good for our area in this time frame, and we just plant those, and it seems to do really well.
We've got celery for the very first time ever.
Yeah,
And
there.
Robin is one of those type of people, okay? And I'm gonna bust her out like right here.
What do you mean those people?
Well, I knew we couldn't make it through the whole video. And when you're processing your own birds, so you can make your own chicken soup, and part of that is celery.
Celery and carrots and onions. So
That's great. So with all your success that you had this year, do you see anything that you would like to expand and add to your beautiful garden out here?
So one thing we learned this year is I can grow all the things. I learned that I can grow several types of heritage tomatoes and different colors of peppers and things like that. I know I can do that. What we found is that there are certain varieties that we favor and for certain things. And so what we're really going to do is kind of hone in on that. One thing that trellis that looks really pathetic right now, we started growing long beans. And so you've got the Thai soldier long beans, there's like a green one, a purple potted one. But anyway, they are so prolific. And you have green beans all summer long. And they're the kind that you can use in stir fries or things like that. They're kind of a long, thin bean. You can also use them for actual beans, as you can see there. You could use them for dry beans. So that is definitely one that we are going to focus a lot on next year. Same thing with tomatoes. I'm not going to go crazy and grow 70 different varieties of tomatoes. We're going to focus in on, you know, making sure that we're pruning them properly and spacing them properly. And I think our yield will be
A lot.
10 times better.
Yeah.
So I think this next year we're definitely going to focus on, once that first round of tomatoes comes in, we'll start propagating with those sucker plants and start a whole nother round, so that here we are, we were in November and we were still getting tomatoes.
And there's her loophole for her 900 plants.
Have you ever had Brussels sprout leaves?
Not to eat, no.
They're actually very tasty. It's kind of like a
They-
a collard.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They
Uh-huh.
looked like it when they were smaller. When I first came here, I thought they were collared, but
like
then
a collard.
yeah.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So speaking of seeds,
Uh-huh.
what is one seed that you would like to try that you haven't tried yet?
Herbs. I kind of dabbled with herbs this year. I grew echinacea for the first time. Very easy to grow. So I want to start doing a little bit more with like chamomile, some cilantro, things like that. I want to grow from seed. He's like, speaking of seed, they're good.
Your oregano did really good this year.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that over there. Yeah.
Well, that's a companion planting.
So what kind of expertise or advice would you give for beginner gardeners?
Put it in
Put
the
the seed in
ground.
the ground and water it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, one of the things that I learned this year with this fall garden is that I was going by an app, I was going by Clyde's planner, I was going by everything last year telling me that after a certain point you couldn't put seed in the ground. And even if you look right now, my app that I absolutely live and die by would tell me not to put anything in the ground right now. One thing I have learned is not to trust all these apps. Like, I have turnips coming in over there that if you look at everywhere else, they're going to tell you don't grow turnips right now. My word of advice to everybody is there is no such thing as a failure in gardening, because as long as you learn from what's happened, it was a success.
All right, so can you tell our subscribers and viewers anything about, you got a website or anything of that nature, email? How can they get a hold of y'all?
We have our website,
Uh-huh.
which is www.bigbearhomestead.com.
Mm-hmm.
We have a shop there where we have certain things that we make and sell from stuff that we have here on our homestead. We also have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have all of the social media. If you just look up Big Bear Homestead, you're bound to find us.
So we'll put their description down below. Make sure y'all go to their channel and subscribe and like all their videos and tell them I sent you. And so that way I can make him jealous of me, because he wants to be just like me.
I want to be just like, go to other people's homestead and eat all their stuff.
Yeah, especially their sugar snap
Their
peas.
sugar snap
We do a lot of these where we go around and do a garden tours and pick different content creators' brains and stuff. We'll put a playlist above so you can follow along. Until the next video, let's grow together.